one of the things that I've noticed is that often on the first conversation I have with a client, they're going externally to try and find something that will come in and help their team in some way. And what they're often missing is to consider whether that resource is already present in their team, in their company, in themselves, and to go internally for it. And it concerns me because if they go externally and it is present internally, then it devalues the resources internally and potentially could disempower the team. So I'll give you an example. Somebody had asked me if I would come and talk to their boss about doing an away day. So I went and met this person, and they said, oh yes, we're looking for a motivational speaker. We'd like to work with our team, and we've got a lot of challenging and difficult things that need to be dealt with within the business. And what we want to talk about is overcoming difficulties. We really want to motivate the team to face difficulties head on and overcome them. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a Paralympian, so a girl with Down syndrome, and she's going to come in and talk about how she's overcome difficulties in her life and how she's challenged things. And then what we'll do is we'll get you to come in and talk about overcoming difficulties and some of the case studies that we've read about in your book. I go, It's interesting. This is me thinking, not talking to him yet. I'm thinking, so you're going to bring in somebody from the outside, and then you're going to bring me in to talk to this group of people about overcoming difficulties. So but I haven't heard him talk about how he overcomes difficulties. It doesn't seem like he's done due diligence to find out whether bringing in an outsider is going to help the team. So I said to him, so if you think for a moment about difficulties that you've overcome, if you just think about one now, you don't need to tell me the details about it. He said, yeah. I said, think about that situation. Did you challenge it head on? He said, oh yeah. He said, I had to in the end. I said, okay, so what was the context? So what allowed you to challenge it? He said, well, it's a personal thing. It wasn't at work. And he said, it was when I realised that my family were behind me, my family would support me 100%. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have to deal with it, and I know they've got my back. He said, so then I could deal with it, got my family behind me, then I could face it, then I overcame it. I said, all right. I said, so then thinking about your work career, there must have been times when you've had difficulties there. Can you think of a time then when you've faced something and overcome it? He had a little think. He said, yeah, I've got one. I said, oh, don't tell me what it is. I said, just before you faced it. I said, what happened just before you faced it? He said, well, I talked to a couple of team members, and they said, yep, it was bothering them as well. I took it to my boss, and he said, go for it. And once I knew that they had my back, he thought, right, that's it, I can go for it. I said, okay, so for you, it's the team and knowing that they've got your back. He said, yes, that's what's crucial to me to overcome difficulties. I said, okay. So if that's what's crucial to you, I said, what might be interesting is to get your team, and I could ask them similar questions. So if that's the theme, when you've overcome difficulties, face them head on and overcome them, under what circumstances did you do that? So if we can find out those circumstances from each of those people, then what you've got homegrown solutions to the problem that you want to resolve. And if there are themes to that, we can then say to them, so for this team to overcome difficulties, what are some of the key things that would need to be in place? For example, it might be teamwork, it might be knowing somebody's got your back. He said, use what they already know to solve the problem. I said, yeah, that would be then the solutions that come out of the project, we know that they're going to work for most of those people because they're the things that have worked in the past. They're likely to work again in the future. And I think for me as a modeller, and as doing systemic modelling, this is the natural way to think. When have we naturally got the thing that we'd like to have more of? What are the contexts that allow that to happen? How do we create more of those contexts? Then we can naturally have more what we want. But for lots of people in business, it just seems to evade them. They go externally, we'll change things, we'll get somebody in, we'll get a consultant in. Instead of thinking, could we have all the resources that we need internally? I think it's a much more cost-effective way, and it's a much cleaner way of creating change in an organisation.